that we have one of the good guys from Washington, and you know how I feel, folks. I feel like there's 40 or 50 we need to keep. The rest of them need to get fired. This is one that we need to keep. Senator Mike Lee from the great state of Utah, and all you listeners in Utah ought to be proud of the fact that you've got a state representative like Mike Lee, and I sure appreciate him taking some time out of his busy schedule to be with us. Senator, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much.
Senator, I was reading some comments that Speaker Boehner made, and I want to talk to you a few minutes about Obamacare. And I was reading some text from the conference call yesterday that Senator Boehner had with the rank and file there in the House. And apparently 80 House members now have filed or urged their leader to shut down, or not shut down the government, but to defund Obamacare. And, you know, I believe that it's our last hope, because I don't believe, I believe that most on Capitol Hill are being very naive, and the American people are naive if they think that once we get this thing up and running and have 40 or 50 million people covered by health care, that there could actually be a Congress that is then going to revamp the system and throw 50 million people on the street without health care. It's never going to happen. And if we don't do something now, we're in big trouble. And I sure would appreciate it, because I know where you stand on this. You're for it. You think we ought to do what we've got to do to defund this.
I certainly do. You know, there are three things that we've learned are more or less permanent: death, taxes, and big entitlement programs. Once they kick in, they tend not to go away. And so if we want to stop this, we've got to defund it, and we've got to do that now. So I respectfully but very, very strongly disagree with Speaker Boehner's plan to just go ahead and pass another short-term continuing resolution, one that would allow Obamacare to go ahead and take effect. You know, the time for hesitating is over. The time for punting on this is over. And I continue with my message that if you fund it, you're for it. And I would encourage any of your listeners who agree with me to join me in this cause and to go to don'tfundit.com, sign the petition, and to make sure that your senators and your congressmen hear from you and that they understand you don't want them to fund Obamacare.
Mm. Well, I've been on I'm on a 26-week campaign where I'm highlighting every week a congressperson or someone in the House or someone in the Senate that is backing Obamacare, and that would be backing it by way of not standing up and fighting it, as well as the Democrats that voted for the bill. I'm asking people to call their offices, whether they're representative or not, let them know they're going to be working hard to push back and fight against them. And I think the American people all need to go to don'tfundit.com. And folks, if you haven't done it, I've talked about that website before, but if you haven't done it, you need to do it. And I know that there are thousands of listeners calling Kay Hagan's office in North Carolina. She happens to be who I'm focusing on this week. But is there any real hope, Senator, that we'll have enough that could jump onto this to turn Speaker Boehner's around on this?
Well, you know, politicians are political animals by definition, and they respond to what the people say. The American people are uniformly against this. You know, this law is controversial only in Washington, D.C. Everywhere else, it's despised. And so the more people would get on board, the more people who start speaking, the more possible it becomes for us to defund this. And I can't put odds on it at this point. It's there are too many variables. Yeah. But what I do know is that if we do nothing, this law is going to take effect. And if it takes effect, health care is going to get more expensive. People are going to continue losing their jobs and seeing their hours cut, and we can't sit back and allow that to happen.
Well, and it could be the final nail in the economic coffin of this economy, too. And as an economist, I've been saying that since before this bill was passed. And we don't seem to care much about the economy and that aspect of it, or the unintended consequences that are going to impact this economy. And Boehner says that if we do this, remember, he said yesterday, remember the backlash of 95 and 96 when we shut the government down. First of all, we live in a different day. And second, I travel around the country doing town hall meetings and talking to people. And I can tell you that the American people want somebody with some backbone to fight and stand up. And it's become a place in America, in my opinion, it has come to a place where American people aren't even worried about winning the war. They just want to see the battle waged. And we refuse to wage battle. And Republicans are continued being framed by the American people as weak and compromising and surrendering party to what the left agenda sets.
Well, that's right, and they have every reason to feel that way. And, the thing that we need to remember is that this one is not yet another battle involving Democrat versus Republican. This is about the political elite ruling class in Washington against everyone else, against the American people. And that's the problem. So, look, if he fears backlash, then he ought to fear what happens if we let this law take effect without our doing everything we can to stop this law. The truth is that we have to stand up for this. The truth is John Boehner would not be Speaker of the House today but for the popular response against Obamacare's passage in 2010. He became Speaker based on a tidal wave of opposition to Obamacare, and Republicans took the majority with a promise that we would do everything we can to stop it. He's punted. He has delayed over and over again, and the time for that to stop is now.
So besides going to don'tfundit.com, and everybody needs to sign that petition, what are some of the other things that we need to do, that the American people, that conservative Americans that care about the nation's economy, that care about America, what are some of the other things that we can be doing?
Well, first of all, people can contact their own senators and their own congressmen and find out where they stand on this issue, and contact their offices personally and tell them, please don't fund Obamacare. And, be specific about it, and don't accept a cheap imposter of an answer. One of the standard garden variety political ruling class Republican responses is, well, I don't want to cause a shutdown. Well, this is not a call for a shutdown. This is an attempt to avoid a shutdown. We don't need a shutdown or want a shutdown. What we're saying is that we ought not be required as a condition of funding our armed services to also fund Obamacare. We want at least two votes, one to fund everything else in government and one to fund Obamacare, because Obamacare's got to stand on its own merits.
Mm-hmm. Well, we need to do that, folks. We need to be calling our local representatives. You know that. You hear me say it every day. And we've got to continue to do that. And, we've got to support guys like Mike Lee and Ted Cruz and some of the others that are fighting this. And we need to support those guys. And we didn't make it clear. We need to encourage them and write to them as well. But go to don'tfundit.com. Senator Mike Lee from Utah. Senator, I sure appreciate you taking some time to be with us, to be with our listeners and express your concerns and what you're doing. And I just ask you from the bottom of my heart, keep fighting. Please don't let up. Don't compromise. Stick to your convictions, because America needs leadership like you're showing. And what we don't need is someone else compromising. So please stay in the fight and keep it up for us. We need it.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. Senator Mike Lee from Utah, and we sure appreciate the senator coming on with us. And folks, we need to encourage Senator Mike Lee. We need to encourage Ted Cruz and others that are in this battle. David Vitter, who's on this program on what seems to be a regular basis. He's been on many times. I think Senator Vitter is going to be at a town hall meeting. We're trying to get him in Lafayette, Louisiana. He's coming. He said he would come. It's just a matter of what's going on in Washington, because, of course, they're in session at that time. But, we need to encourage those guys, too. So for the encouragement that we're giving those that are standing for for this, continuation bill without defunding, we need to let them know they're going to be fighting against them. And we need to be letting guys like Mike Lee and others know that we're standing with them, and we're going to do everything we can to help them stay in the fight. We really need to do that.